Friends, knowingly or unknowingly we make some mistakes which we regret later. When we realize our mistake, it is too late. By then, we are ruined. So, what are those mistakes in life which we do not know about and which are ruining us? Let us talk about this in this story today. What are the mistakes of a person which ruin him? If we find out the reasons for our ruin, then our life can become happy. It was a long time ago that a rich businessman used to live in a city. That businessman had all kinds of comforts, but he did not have any child. He was always worried due to the sorrow of not having a child. Then one day he came to know that his wife was pregnant. He became very happy. Then he took good care of his wife. In such a situation, one day a son was born in his house. The businessman was very happy on the birth of his son. He distributed sweets in the entire city, and his happiness knew no bounds. Soon his son grew up and became a great success. He decided to send his son to Gurukul so that he could write and become a scholar. His son was not very old yet, but he sent him to Gurukul at a very young age. In Gurukul, the boy would study well and follow all the orders of his guru. Thus, the boy became the most promising student there. In Gurukul, the boy studied all the Vedas, Puranas, and scriptures and became a great scholar. The guru was also very happy with the boy. He acquired all the knowledge at a very young age, but they say that no one knows when time changes so much. One day, his parents died due to some natural disaster, and when his parents died, the child's education was not complete. When the boy heard the news that his parents were no more in this world, and everything of theirs was ruined, the boy lost interest in this worldly illusion. After that, the boy decided that after completing his Gurukul education, he would spend his entire life for the welfare of people. And when the education of that boy was completed, he became a sannyasi, and he went to the Himalayan forest away from worldly things. He went to the forest and did penance for a long time. After completing the penance, that sannyasi started teaching people. With time, the discussion of that sannyasi started everywhere, and people started coming to him from far and wide to get education. And many people also started coming to him to find solutions to their problems. The sannyasi solved the problems of all the people very easily, due to which he became famous in the whole kingdom. But the king of the city in which he lived was a cruel person. When the king came to know about the sannyasi, he decided to meet him. The next morning, the king left his palace to meet that sannyasi and then reached outside the sannyasi's hut. When the king reached there and saw that sannyasi, the king kept looking at him. There was a different glow on his face. When he reached near the sannyasi, the king felt immense peace. The king bowed to the sannyasi and said to him. He sat nearby and started talking to him. The king was so impressed by the personality of the hermit in the very first meeting that he decided to follow the path of goodness from that time itself, and started thinking in his mind that if this hermit can change me so much in such a short meeting, then if he starts living with me forever, then my life will change. And thinking this, the king started requesting the hermit to come to the palace. Hearing the king's request, the hermit could not refuse and agreed to come to the palace. Then the king took the hermit to the palace. On reaching the palace, the king welcomed the hermit very well, and after that the king gave the hermit food in a good room. After the food, the hermit thanked the king and asked for permission to leave. Hearing this, the king said that you can stay in our garden as long as you want. You will not have any kind of inconvenience here, and if you stay here, our subjects will also like it, and we will also like it. On hearing this, the hermit accepted the king's proposal. After that, the king asked his servants to make arrangements for the hermit Maharaj to live in the garden, eat, wear clothes, etc. As per the king's order, the servants built a beautiful dog. After that, the hermit started living in that hut. The hermit spent many years living in that dog, and during this time, the king took good care of him. Once, due to some important work, the king and the queen had to go to some other kingdom. So they appointed a servant to serve the hermit, But that servant fell ill after the king left and went to his home and never returned. When the king returned, the hermit, in anger, told the king a lot of things and said to the king, "O king, why do you take up the responsibility which you cannot fulfill?" Then the king apologized to the hermit and said, "O Gurudev, if I have made any mistake, then I apologize to you for that. Please forgive me and calm down your anger and kindly tell me what pain you have suffered." Hearing this, the hermit said that after you left, no one gave me food here and I remained hungry for many days. No one even asked me about my condition after coming here. Hearing this, the king apologized to the hermit again and said, "O Gurudev, I will not make such a mistake after today." And after this, the matter calmed down. When the conversation was going on between the king and the hermit, the queen was also listening to all this secretly and was watching everything. After that, the king did not give the hermit any chance to complain and served him well, but after a few days, the king had to go out of his kingdom again for some important work. But this time, before going out of the kingdom, the king told his queen that till I come back, you will take care of the hermit yourself. Hearing this, the queen said, "Yes, Maharaj, you go without worry. I will serve the hermit Maharaj well." After that, the queen used to prepare food every day and send it to the hermit. But one day, the queen went to take a bath and the hermit forgot to give him food. The sannyasi waited for a long time for the food, but when the food did not come, so the sannyasi started thinking that why the food did not come today. After that, the sannyasi thought that he will go to the palace himself and see why the food has not come till now, and then he reached the palace. When he entered the palace, his eyes fell on the queen. The fairy queen's long, thick black hair which were waving on her waist, her black eyes which can injure anyone just by looking at them, her deer-like gait. The sannyasi was astonished to see such a beautiful form of the queen, and the beauty of the queen got embedded in the mind of the sannyasi, and he returned to his hut without saying anything. The sannyasi could not forget the beauty of the queen, and he stopped eating and drinking and came to his hut. Due to his thoughts, the sannyasi did not eat anything for many days, due to which he became very weak hen. After some time, the king returned, and when he came to know about the condition of the sannyasi, he went straight to meet the sannyasi near his hut and said, "O Gurudev, what happened to you and how did you become so weak? After all, what are you worried about? What deep thoughts are you lost in? Have I made a mistake?" Then the hermit said, "No, Rajan, you have not made any mistake." Hearing this, the king said, "Then what is the matter? You tell me. I will definitely trouble you." Hearing this, the hermit said to the king, "O Rajan, I have been lost in the thoughts of your queen after seeing her amazing beauty, and now I cannot live without the queen." The king was surprised to hear this, and after thinking for a while, the king said to the hermit, "I will give you the queen." Hearing this, the hermit became very happy. Then the king took the hermit to the palace, and when the king reached the palace with the hermit, that day the queen was wearing the most beautiful clothes. Then the king reached the queen and told the queen that you should help a hermit. He has become very weak, and I do not want the stigma of killing a wise man to fall on my head. After that, the king asked the queen whether she would like to take this stigma upon herself. After listening to this, the queen asked the king, "What is the reason for the monk's sadness?" The king told the queen that the monk has become crazy about your amazing beauty. After listening to the king, the queen said, "O king, don't worry. Now you leave everything to me. I know what I have to do. By doing this, neither will you be accused of the sin of killing the monk, nor will my purity be destroyed." After listening to this, the king handed over the queen to the monk. After that, the monk took the queen to the hut. After entering the hut, the queen told the monk that we need a house to live in. We cannot live in the hut. After listening to this, the monk went to the king and said to the king, "O king, we need a house to live in." After listening to the monk, the king arranged a house for them, then the monk. When the queen reached the house with the sannyasi, the queen said that this house is very dirty and its condition is very bad. I cannot live in this house. Hearing this, the sannyasi again went to the king and said, "O king, The condition of the house you have given us is very bad. After listening to the sannyasi, the king got the condition of the house fixed. After that, the queen went inside the house and came to the bed after taking a bath. Then the sannyasi came to his senses. Then the queen said to the sannyasi that, "Do you know who you are, and what have you become now? You were a great sannyasi, for whom the king himself provided all the facilities. Such a sannyasi, to whom people used to come from far away to acquire knowledge, who used to show people the path of truth, who used to solve the problems of people, whom everyone started considering as the best guru, whom people used to worship as God. And today you have become my slave due to your lust." Hearing all the words of the queen, the sannyasi got a big shock, and he felt that he is a sannyasi, and what is he doing? He had left all these comforts and went to the forest in search of peace. He has become very weak, and I do not want the stigma of killing a wise man to fall on my head. After that, the king asked the queen whether she would like to take this stigma upon herself. After listening to this, the queen asked the king, "What is the reason for the monk's sadness?" The king told the queen that the monk has become crazy about your amazing beauty. After listening to the king, the queen said, "O king, don't worry. Now you leave everything to me. I know what I have to do. By doing this, neither will you be accused of the sin of killing the monk, nor will my purity be destroyed." After listening to this, the king handed over the queen to the monk. After that, the monk took the queen to the hut. After entering the hut, the queen told the monk that we need a house to live in. We cannot live in the hut. After listening to this, the monk went to the king and said to the king, "O king, we need a house to live in." After listening to the monk, the king arranged a house for them, then the monk. When the queen reached the house with the sannyasi, the queen said that this house is very dirty and its condition is very bad. I cannot live in this house. Hearing this, the sannyasi again went to the king and said, "O king, the condition of the house you have given us is very bad." After listening to the sannyasi, the king got the condition of the house fixed. After that, the queen went inside the house and came to the bed after taking a bath. Then the sannyasi came to his senses. Then the queen said to the sannyasi that, "Do you know who you are, and what have you become now? You were a great sannyasi, for whom the king himself provided all the facilities. Such a sannyasi, to whom people used to come from far away to acquire knowledge, who used to show people the path of truth, who used to solve the problems of people, whom everyone started considering as the best guru, whom people used to worship as God. And today you have become my slave due to your lust." Hearing all the words of the queen, the sannyasi got a big shock, and he felt that he is a sannyasi, and what is he doing? He had left all these comforts and went to the forest in search of peace. When the sannyasi came to his senses, he started crying loudly and shouting and said to the queen, "Please forgive me, queen. What was I going to do? I will hand you over to the king right now." Hearing this from the sannyasi, the queen asked the sannyasi, "O Gurudev, I also have a question in my mind. Please answer my question." Hearing the queen, the sannyasi said, "Ask me, what is your question?" Then the queen said, "When you did not get food that day, you became very angry. Then I saw this form of you for the first time, and since then I have been feeling a change in your behavior. Why did this happen, Gurudev? Why did you get so angry? You had attained peace." Hearing the queen, the sannyasi said, "When I was in the forest, I did not get food on time. But when I came to the palace, after coming to the palace, I got all the comforts, and then I became addicted to all these comforts, and I developed an attachment towards it, and then I developed a greed to get it. And when I did not get it, then my anger arose inside." Then the hermit said, "Queen, if the wish is not fulfilled, anger arises, and if the wish is fulfilled, greed increases." The hermit further said that the fulfillment of this wish has brought me to the door of lust, and I got attracted towards you. After this, the hermit took the queen to the king and said, "O king, please forgive me. I have realized my mistake." "O queen, I do not want all this. I was going to do wrong things under the influence of my desire and was ruining my life. But now I have understood everything. After that, the hermit said, O king, the reason for the destruction of man is his 4 habits, and every person in the world has these 4 vices, but the person who gains control over them is saved, and the person who is not able to control these 4 faults reaches the verge of destruction. Hearing this, the king said, O Gurudev, tell me those 4 habits which ruin a man. Then the monk told the king about the 4 habits that ruin a man. O king, the first habit that ruins a man is his desire, because desire is the first defect in every person in the world. And the person who is not able to control his desires is not able to succeed anywhere in life. Because as soon as one of his desires is fulfilled, he starts moving towards the second one. And when the second one is fulfilled, the third desire awakens in his mind. And then while doing this, due to not being able to control his desires, a sense of satisfaction does not come in the mind of the person, and he remains entangled in this trap and remains unhappy. That is why, King, when we gain control over our desires, then we also gain control over our mind. And when our mind is under our control, we get only happiness. Then whatever we want happens to us. Then the monk says, O king, the second habit that ruins a man is lust. Lust is born from the desires that arise in our mind. Just as there is no end to desires, similarly, man keeps getting trapped in the web of lust. Under the influence of lust, man cannot see anything. The biggest reason for all the wars that have happened till date is the desire to get a woman. Many kings and emperors have fought wars before today under the influence of the love of a woman. Ravana was a very intelligent person, but he ruined himself by being captivated by the beauty of Mother Sita. A woman was the reason for his death. Many kings and emperors lost the war because they remained busy in performing Ras Leela with women. God created women to create this world, but nowadays people have made it a form of their lust. They have started thinking of women as a means of entertainment, and when they do not get their entertainment, they go mad. And God knows what all they do. Therefore, O king, one should stay away from lust as much as possible. Then the sannyasi says that, O king, the third habit that ruins a man is anger, because when a man's lust is not fulfilled, anger arises in him. And when a person gets angry, he does not have control over it, and then he takes many wrong decisions in anger. In anger, a person abuses others, and when his anger subsides, he realizes his mistakes. But by then, everything is ruined. Due to anger, many of the works of a man get spoiled. When anger arises in a man, he becomes very weak from inside, and a weak man cannot do anything in life. He never gets success. Then the sannyasi says, O king, the fourth habit that ruins a man is greed. O king, the result of greed is always bad. By falling into greed, we harm many people. Such occasions definitely come in every man's life when he becomes greedy and tries to get more. In greed, he does something due to which he loses whatever he had, because as soon as a person's wish is fulfilled, his greed also increases, and many more aspirations start coming in his mind. The person who is greedy in his life gradually moves away from success. If we stay in time and give up our greed and do not fall into its trap, then we can definitely become a successful person. Then in the end, the sannyasi says that, O Rajan, if a man gives up these four habits, then no one can stop him from being successful in life. Being a sannyasi, I fell into these habits and started ruining myself. So think, what can happen to an ordinary man? So, O Rajan, a man should always stay away from these four habits. So friends, I hope you have learned a lot from this video. And if you have learned something, then like and share this video of ours, and also write your names in the comment. Thank you.